Recording with Mr. James Grundvig on Sunday, March 19th, 2023, 6:08 p.m. Eastern Time. And guys, as always, if you want to support the show, click on the little red button above on Rumble. It's for locals. It's like Rumble's version of Patreon. You can support the podcast for a couple bucks a month, exclusive content, all that good stuff, whatever. So Mr. Grundvig and I were just talking before we started, and you said that everything's coalescing this year, which I imagine just means on every front of this chaotic, borderless, gray, fifth generation war we're on.
Fifth generation war, but we're dealing with four fronts or four vectors, in my opinion.
Okay.
So what am I talking about? Talk about bio, right? B, bioterrorism, COVID, right? Both the virus and the vaccine, right? That's one front. Next front is war itself, W, right? That's the kinetic war we're watching Ukraine and Russia. You probably look at China going into Taiwan at some point, and you're looking at Iran and Saudi Arabia teaming up against Israel. So all those are very real. Then you have the environment, right? And they're going after, this is the train derailments. This is the attack in East Palestine. It is all of that stuff. So you're like you said, we're in an information warfare, and we're being taxed economically as well. So money, M, and this is coming to a fruition. So there was talks about, we covered this a lot on American Media Periscope. So I run a show called Unrestricted Truths, and John Chambers, through an intel source of his, the owner of American Media Periscope, last July knew that Trump was going to be arrested. Right. And then the raid happened on the 8th of August at Trump Mar-a-Lago, and he wasn't arrested. But then, we continue to do it. So Trump did something different. So like a month later, when he felt he was going to be arrested, he cut down all of the tall privacy trees around Mar-a-Lago. They're all cut down. He's not against trees or anything like that. He's not anti-sustainability or green or whatever you want to call it. No, he loves nature. So why would he do that? Oh, because he was going to film the FBI raiding his Mar-a-Lago for a second time. That was going to be caught on camera. And we come out publicly and talked about this. And so what's interesting now is Trump is going up to New York this week, and okay, this is interesting. But from my intel sources, separate from John Chambers, right? From my intel sources, Trump wasn't supposed to be arrested until May. So what changed the timeline? Why did they jump up 2 months in advance? I say it was the Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. They're both brought down. They're both cabal banks. They're both supporting George Soros and BLM and all those illegal, all those DAs. It's probably backdoor. You got probably Chinese in there. Talk about sleeper cells. They're probably financing sleeper cells as well. And so that has all come in, and I'm like, okay, this happened for a reason. And it's sort of like the white hats. So who are the white hats? They're the part of the real military structure, not the pencil pushers and budget people in the Pentagon. They're out west. They're in Cheyenne Mountain. They're run by a military command, from what I understand, in Reno. The JAG unit down in Temple, Texas, is running supposedly military tribunals, right? So I get that from different sources. And then, of course, we have the NSA, which cut off the CIA from all of its data collection back in early 2017 when Trump came in, because they knew the CIA was basically the enemy of the people. So the NSA's nerve center is where? Northwest of Salt Lake City in Utah. Mm-hmm. So basically our entire military white hats have been more or less invisible, and yet we're seeing things sort of happen. We see that Governor Mike DeWine, who illegally signed off on a burn-off, he has no authority, zero, to turn vinyl chloride and blow it up, and said it was a controlled burn. It wasn't a controlled burn. I used to work in construction management 30 years, 10 years in heavy highway construction. I dealt with hazardous material. There is an audit trail. There are procedures to follow. If you don't follow them, your company's going to be out of business. They'll put a stop work order in, and you're going to go and you might be criminally prosecuted. So somehow he bypasses all that. A week later, he's wearing a bootie. Well, that's interesting. He claims to be injured out in East Palestine. Oh, that's really interesting, because it was just normal ground. It wasn't the ground didn't blow up, right? The toxic stuff burned off. So what's more interesting is Katie Hobbs ends up, after the Sinaloa cartel the same week, all that revelation comes out, and her taking bribes along with judges and law enforcement and other people in Maricopa County in particular. She's wearing a bootie. What are the odds? It's not like Mike DeWine and Katie Hobbs were dating and went to some ski resort in Switzerland, and got hit by an avalanche. That didn't happen. We know that for a fact, right? Then Mitch McConnell has a fall in the Washington, D.C. Hotel over there called the Waldorf Astoria. It's a well-traveled hotel. It happened on Wednesday night, apparently. And yet there's not a single photo of anyone. And everyone's got, smartphone. Anybody could take a picture. Nothing of him on the ground in social media. Nothing, not a single video clip of him being put onto a gurney and being wheeled out to an ambulance. None of this, nothing. So I'm saying to myself, well, Mitch, that's a good cover story. And then on Monday this past week, we heard that, Mitch's concussion is really bad and he's not coming back right away, but he's out of the hospital. So I think the whole thing is smoke and mirrors. I think he's being dealt with by the White Hats. I absolutely know that Hobbs and DeWine, inside my heart, my gut feeling, no source, it's just what I'm seeing and seeing what they've been exposed to, they have been dealt with too. They're basically cooperating witnesses, in my opinion, not with any government that we know, the military, right? And they're playing a role now. And so you're starting to see a lot of celebrities, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, all have these booties on. Those are basically tracking devices. They're hiding the ankle bracelets that you would see a prisoner wear, right? You're under home arrest like Sam Bankman-Fried, right? Out in his father's house in Stanford. You see this. So it's like amazing what's going on. So there are signs out there that things are changing. So I think those things, plus the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, plus the collapse of Signature Bank, right, is huge. I just got news today from my military intel sources. I have my own sources outside of, I'm not in the military at all, but I'm as a journalist for the last 7 years, I've been part of a couple of different groups. And I learned that the Federal Reserve, $160 billion to backstop the banks.
To do what?
To backstop the banks from completely failing, right? Yeah. They then gave another $140 billion separate, so that's $300 billion combined, separate to the FDIC window, for the depositors who are insured up to $250K in these two banks, right? You then have Jamie Dimon from Chase and all the other big banks backstop First Republic Bank for $30 billion. So you got $330 billion backstop because the entire money system was imploding. That's just America. 4 out of the top 5 big banks in Canada have lost 10% of its value in 5 days. Now let's go to Europe. We learned today that USB, of Switzerland Bank is now bought Credit Suisse Bank for $1 billion. That's a cheap price, right? No, they're buying the $55 billion of credit default swaps, which are basically junk. So it's $1 billion on the surface in the newspaper headlines, but they're at risk a lot bigger than that. And now I think the government of Switzerland has to come in and back them up. What's happening is the entire financial system is ready to collapse. 200 banks been reported over the weekend might fail across the board. And that is the end of the Babylonian Canaanite monetary system, right? The debt enslavement system. That's the end of it.
Well, then who's I always play devil's advocate on this show. So if this is just me asking my own questions for the sake of the conversation, who's controlling this then? That seems pretty.
Well, remember, let's look at two things. Klaus Schwab has said, well, you're going to have a poly crisis in 2023.
Yep. Poly cybergon.
Yeah, well, that's one thing, but poly crisis in general, which are the four vectors I mentioned.
Gotcha.
And then throw in cyber in there, because I'm sure we're going to have a cyber attack as well at some point, right? All this is happening. So in order for them to install their digital enslavement system, in which we would live off the central bank digital currency, in which we'd have food rations, we won't be able to buy meat anymore, we won't be able to walk 5 miles from our house, that kind of stuff. For that to be installed, they need to destroy the old system. And the original plan before disruptor chief Trump comes into office was what? To collapse, everyone be bankrupt, right? United Nations, World Economic Forum, IMF, right? International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, all of them would have come in and said, we're here to rescue. We're here to save you people. But they've been exposed for the last 4 years. So no one's buying them as saviors anymore, right? They're the enemy. People realize this. That's the good news. You got to think of different things in the Bible. I'm not a Bible quote or anything like that, but God has always allowed the enemy to use their weapons and tools against the children of God. And always at some last minute or some way, the tools are used against them. So the perfect book for this is Queen Esther, right? The only of the 66 books in the Bible, Queen Esther is the 17th book, hello number 17. She actually learned that the Jewish people were going to be hung by Haman and his gang of thugs. They were going to hang all the Jewish people in the Mideast, all around the different cities. And so she broke protocol. She was one of like 8 concubine queens, whatever you want to call it, right? And she went into the center court, which no queen had ever done before. And she was the youngest of all 8 of them. And she risked her life to save her people. And the king heard the story. He heard the hammering, the building of these gallows outside the court, and the gallows builder were hung on it the next day, not the Jewish people. And that's where Purim comes from. And I think that's amazing. If you think of Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates doing what? Trying to inject us with a bioweapon, I think they might be going the way of Haman. They might get injected with their own weapon. So we're starting to see these different things. So the black hats, World Economic Forum, all those guys want to destroy the money system. The white hats are going to allow them to do it. But the white hats have done what? They've gone and disrupted their timing. Trump disrupted the timing on January 6th. I believe the actual lethal virus that was created in the lab back in October of 2019, that was switched out for a less lethal virus with spike proteins on RNA fragments. I've had Dr. Judy Mikovits on my show say that. I've had Dr. Lee Merritt say the same thing. The pandemic didn't spread like a pandemic. So things are getting interesting. So I think the white hats disrupted the rollout of the virus. And once it was out in 2020, they had to make it up. When I say they, the CDC, FDA, World Health Organization, they had to make up stuff as you go along. They literally had to make things up. The case denic, right? Asymptomatic, right? Social distance, masks, all of it was a lie. They had to do something to get people to live in fear long enough to give them a jab that wasn't coming out until the end of December, early 2021. That's why they did it. So they knew that the real virus never hit the market, that something else was replacing. Now, how do I even speculate on that? Well, NBC News reported that from October 6, 2019 to October 14, that's 8 days, here's Wuhan lab, right? You see this? Not a single satellite communication came in. No internet came in and out. Parking lot was empty. The road around it was empty. It was completely dark. Nothing going on there for 8 days. And that was before the Wuhan games, which happened on the 18th of October. That was before Bill Gates' Event 201, which was mocked and simulated on 18th of October. And that was before Wuhan turned on 20% of its 5G antenna arrays on the 18th of October. So there is a white hat group inside the Chinese PLA. I actually believe this. So I don't have evidence of everything, but I don't need evidence of anything. I'm seeing things happen. They disrupted the timing of the virus, right? They didn't have the numbers. I lived in New York City for 18 months before I moved to Florida. So I lived in Manhattan. I lived in the Upper East Side. I didn't see one single person on the street dying from this killer virus. Nobody. In fact, the ERs were empty. In fact, the emergency ship that came in, hospital ship on the Hudson River, that was empty. In fact, the Billy Graham's, I forgot what it was called, but they built some temps by what do you call it? Mount Sinai Hospital in Central Park on 105th Street. I walked by that, ghost town. Nothing. So there was no virus per se, right? And I knew something different was going on. Then you see the January 6th, and Trump knew about January 6th on the 14th of December. How's that possible? Well, you have a thing called a DNI, right? Or the Director of National Intelligence. But so Trump receives a daily intel brief every day as a president. So per 107, who's been on my show several times, and I've had a couple of private dinners with him, he came out and laid down just some clear timeline. So the 18th of December was a Friday of 2020. That the DNI 45-day election theft report was due and never arrived. But Trump knew on Monday of that week, the 14th, he knew two things. He knew Communist China interfered digitally, cyber, the election. He knew this. He also knew that Pelosi, FBI, whoever else, he might not have known the actors at that point, but he knew there was going to be a false flag on January 6th. He knew this was coming. They had to have a false flag to hide, the process. The process of Congress was to allow them to say, hey, wait a second, we had to go through a 10-day review. That was interfered with by Pelosi. But Trump knew this was going to happen. And Trump's advisors most likely, don't have evidence of this, but most likely understand how the cabal or the Illuminati or the devil worshippers work. That he knew they were to start at 1 p.m. on the 6th of January. Why 1 p.m.? Well, 1 p.m. is 13 in military time. 13 is one of those slavish Illuminati hoax numbers. So Trump does what? He comes a little bit late to the ellipse. He's not in his normal rally, Trump rally cadence. He's slower. He's not as dynamic as he usually is. I would tell anyone to go back and watch the ellipse speech and put a rally on the side by side and watch them on two laptops and just take a look. Completely different styles. He deliberately went past the 13th hour or the 1 p.m. hour. He took it at 1:10 or 1:13 maybe. And so that actually disrupted the entire farce that has become J6, right? Blaming, Trump, MAGA, the 80 million voters for Trump, calling them what? Domestic terrorists. They're still trying to use that narrative, but it's going to fail and it's falling apart. And now you got the New York Post red pilling on a lot of stuff. Fox News is finally, for the first time, red pilling what's really going on in Russia and Ukraine. It's interesting. So you're seeing a massive change going on. And now we got these banks in front of us. So you have masses of people out there, right? You still got 50% of the population, just throw a number out there, they're wondering if the government's would come save them. They still actually believe this. These are people that are Biden remorse voters. They're double boosted, right? They're jabbed. And they still haven't put two and two together. The jabs were not saving them, but were killing them and injuring them and all that stuff. So there's still a lot of people that are asleep that need to be shocked awake. So the shock awake is going to be the collapse of the financial system. It's going to be, in my opinion, the nuclear countdown with Russia, in my opinion. And we got to be pushed to the very edge of the great void. And people, did any of us sign up for this? Is this how you want the uniparty? Not just Democrats. You want Mitch McConnell and Pelosi to dictate your lives? The answer is no. It's hell no. And once the truth comes out, and it will come out, because we are in the apocalypse. And apocalypse is not Armageddon. Apocalypse is the great unveiling. That's what it means in Greece. To unveil. We're going to see, unveiling is the truth. And it's not your apocalypse, not my apocalypse. We're going to see the deep state, the enemy. We're going to see these satanic pedophiles. It's their apocalypse. And once they're revealed, it's over with. And there is so much going on that, like you and I, Thomas, you and I talked about before the show, that it's incredible what's going on. I mean, it's just so much. How do you keep up with it? Well, I just continue to look at it at a very high level. I'm not worried about, we could beat them in law here. Law's not going to do it. President Trump's last two elections proven, without a shadow of doubt, our entire legal system, Supreme Court, lower courts, state courts, fed courts, all of it is completely, totally 100% compromised, corrupt, infiltrated, everything. Can't be trusted. Military is the only way. But the good news, every day, the other side continues to commit crimes. They're continuing to do incredible crimes because they're trying to cover up the crimes they have. It is why they're dumping so much money and so much everything into Ukraine, because Ukraine is actually the truth. Ukraine holds the very dark truth about the enemy we've been fighting, and the enemy has been invisible to most people for thousands of years, but we're finally at the end of the road here.
You got me hooked. I'm listening. This is I'm following. I like this story. What's the to go back, because my own kind of OCD mind, what was the DNI 45-day? What is that?
In September 8, I think it's September 12, 2018, Trump wrote a executive order. I don't know the number off the top of my head. It was a 9-page executive order, and he talked about election interference in U.S. elections, domestic or foreign. right? And there would be criminal charges and whatever else that, is basically a national security threat at the end of the day. And so that became the impetus, and that is at this 2020 election. So this is written 2 years before, September 2018, November 2020 election. Trump said from that point forward, DNI, the Department of National Intelligence, which is the control of all 17 intel agencies, they have to deliver a report in 45 days. They failed, but yet Trump knew. But that was never known to the public until after. Then they did what? They waited another 45 days and they delivered it on the 19th of January, the day before Biden's fake inauguration, right? The illegal inauguration. That's when they delivered it. So the military command, the 5 branches of military, said, wait a second. I'm talking about the Pentagon again. This is just military out west. They're saying, wait a second. Do we have a Manchurian candidate? No. So the report was delivered, but with 24 hours, and the military certainly can review anything for 24 hours. So they decided to take their 45 days to review it. That brought it to the 6th of March. And then at the 6th of March, the 5 branches of the military, right, which are Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines, and
Space Force.
Space Force, right, cyber. They each then had 1-day presentation to give it, and that brought you to the March 11th. March 11th is an interesting day. Oh, that's an Illuminati day. That's when the World Health Organization in 2020 declared the global pandemic, even though they could have declared the global pandemic 6 weeks before. They waited to 3 times 11 is 33. So here we go into the hoax number again. So in reverse, the military goes, well, they actually, per 107, had Trump sign a piece of paper that he was commander-in-chief. So basically, we've had.
Say that again. Per what? 107?
Yeah, 107. He's a military contractor.
Oh, Juan?
Yeah, Wantage. Yeah, he is.
Oh, I thought you said 10, like the number 107.
Well, that's his nickname too. But
107. That's great. Isn't like that
Or
tequila? Ron
right.
White's tequila, number 1.
Well, if you drop the 0 from 107, you got 17. They were back to Queen Esther. You see how this works?
Okay, I'm following.
So it's pretty interesting. So at that time, President Trump, or Donald Trump, became commander-in-chief of the military. And if you follow the stories in public, you heard about Pelosi wanting the nuclear keys and codes. They were cut off from all of those aspects. Pentagon doesn't have them. Pelosi never had them. Mitch McConnell never had them. And they wanted to get back from Trump, and they failed completely. They're not in control of anything in the military. They're in control of budgeting. They've been spending money recklessly. We know this for the past 2 years, and this is all part of who they are. But they're not in control of the things that actually matter in this war. Okay. And so we're kind of like in a tortoise or possum mode right now, United States. The white hats are allowing United States to be degraded, to be infiltrated, to have these sleeper cells come into the United States. There's Kari Lake, I think, released a video yesterday of a bunch of middle-aged men, right? Men from 25 to 40. Let's just say in that ballpark range.
Fighting age men.
Fighting age men. Good point. Fighting age men from all over, from Mideast, from Ukraine, most likely. They were probably trained with our weapons and soldiers and all that stuff. So this has all happened. They're in this country. Are they involved? Maybe with some Chinese infiltrator? Are they involved in actually derailing these trains, burning some of these sheet metal plants? So why are sheet metal plants important?
Well, that's military armaments, right?
Right, and making ammunition for Americans who support the Second Amendment, right? So we're seeing this all unfold, and it is just a fascinating thing. But what I found really fascinating is that Trump's arrest has been bumped up 2 months. That is good news, in my opinion, which means the other side is now getting really desperate, and that the banks are falling apart probably sooner than they wanted. They have their own timeline, whatever that timeline is. We don't know it, but it just feels that the dark hats, the black hats, are cornered to a great degree, and they don't have many chess moves left. And I think all hell's going to break loose at some point, and then you see things change a little bit.
So yeah, I get in theory what you're saying. Again, so just for my own clarification, so the 45 days failure, okay. I do recall that executive order where it was like, because it was after the whole hubbub of was Trump helped by Russia? So the idea was like, hey, let's just throw this out there. If there is any interference, Democrat or Republican, like you have to, or whatever, there has to be a DNI report or whatever, right?
Right.
Use the power of the intelligence agencies to find out what's going on. I get that. So you said it's not delivered. So
And it wasn't. And you go back and just check any newspaper. It wasn't delivered on time at all.
why wasn't it? I feel like,
Well, because again, think about the coup. We have a soft coup going on.
all right, but he's still technically sitting president.
Oh, totally. Sitting president when they ran the J6 false flag hoax too. He was president all the way up to the 20th, right?
Fair point. Yeah.
So I mean, he was, and then when the DNI was delivered, not on the 18th of December, which was a Friday, but on the 19th of January. Okay, a little interesting, huh? Gee, what magic? Who caused them to delay it, right? So I am sure the NSA, the good White Hats in the NSA, know exactly who delayed it, how it was delayed, and everything else. I'm sure those people will or have been dealt with. I can say that much because they're part of it. There's no reason. You got 2 years. You're collecting data, you're collecting information, and you got the supercomputers and all this stuff, and you can't spit out a report in 45 days. But yet you have the daily presidential brief, intel brief every day, and it already tells them what the end result was. And this is why Trump never called for the Insurrection Act. He never ever did it. And he knew what Patrick Byrne didn't know. He knew what Rudy Giuliani didn't know. He knew that Communist China had already interfered, and that had he had the military come in on 19th or 20th of January, we would have been in a civil war.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. I've floated that idea before. Yeah, if you're the president and now granted, I do believe the election was stolen, but some people don't. That's fine. Just as a theoretical idea, if for people that get so clouded by their hatred for Trump, forget Trump. Just go back 30, pretend it's Reagan, whatever, or Obama, whatever. If you're the president and you think that the election was stolen, yeah, I mean, that would kind of be a win-win for the bad guys, right? So if President Tommy came out and my fellow Americans, I believe that, and I lay out a PowerPoint of, I think Communist China interfered and the country's already so on edge. I mean, summer 2020, talk about a powder keg. Even if I could prove the election was stolen from me, candidate Tommy, and I tried to enforce what would be the rule of law, the end result would still be civil war. It was such a high strung. That's a good point. I mean, if you did do that, no matter what, you're pitting the country, and then we don't exist in a vacuum, right? So you'd have other countries coming in.
No question about it. And then the other thing is, we the people. I'll talk about we the people in general. It's just the people that are like kind of in the middle. I'm not going to pick parties or anything like that.
Sure.
But like the let's call it 60-70% of the United States people, we would never learn about how corrupt our court systems are without the elections being stolen twice. We would never know this, ever. We had to know this, right? And so I look at what the two big sting operations the last 3 years: the CARES Act. President Trump, this again is, think about what the CARES Act. That is the incentivizing treating of COVID patients. That was in March 2020. Okay. And the CARES Act, Trump negotiated with the Dems, and the Dems are all about money, as we know. They wanted him to incentivize the slaughter of old people, right? With the ventilators, with the remdesivir protocol, the Fauci protocol, with all these things, and hospitals would get paid over $100,000 per COVID death. They get paid something for a positive result. They then would put them in isolation where they get paid for that. They get paid for a ventilator, $39,000. You put them on a vent for 5 days. You get paid again for remdesivir. And by the time the medical examiner or the county coroner signs off at the very end, it's like $107,000 or $110,000 per dead person. They've been murdering people in big hospitals in the United States for the last 3 years. It's still going on. to a lesser degree, because now people know better to stay out of the hospitals, and the hospitals are falling apart because they no longer have this federal net. They're not getting all this money anymore. That is over with. And so Trump also in the CARES Act did one other thing. He took the Federal Reserve Bank. He would negotiate and put it inside the U.S. Treasury. What did that allow him to do? That allowed him to do, for the first time in 100 and some years, allowed him to look at their books. For the first time ever, since 1913 to 2020, Trump was the first president to ever have a forensic audit team go in and see exactly where all the money's gone. And the Canaanites and the Babylonians, whatever you want to call these people, keep incredible records. And so they went in and took a look at everything. And they knew exactly. So you have a sting operation, CARES Act, and you had a sting operation, the 2020 and 2022 elections. Those are two sting operations, and they're taking down big everything with it.
So, I mean, I fully believe that the U.S. government or some organization like that took down Kennedy. They tried to with General Smedley Butler in 33 and FDR.
Yeah.
So and again, that's just me playing devil's advocate.
So who are the white hats? You want me to answer that question or try?
No, that's not even the question I'm posing. What I'm putting out is so, for lack of a more formal term, when a president fucks around with the money, they have no problem with straight up shooting you in the street.
No question.
Why didn't, or I guess, is that what the 2020 was? Is that the modern version? Is that the watered down version of Dealey Plaza? They don't.
The watered down version.
It's a more nerf society. None of us are as cool as our grandpa, including the black hats. They don't have the balls to shoot. They got to do it. And for anyone listening, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying go shoot someone. What I'm saying is so they don't. It's a little softer. They don't do the whole Lee Harvey. They do mail-in ballots.
Right. And they've known that it's fallen apart to a great. So Trump did have a bulletproof shield in front of him at the ellipse. So we can mention
it's been
right. So and they had 25 assassination attempts in their life, but they were not done, like you said, with Hinckley or anybody else, right? So MK Ultra guy, picking up a pistol.
Sirhan,
right. Those days are over, right? So it's changed, but 25 attempts failed for whatever reason.
On Trump?
Oh yeah, over his 4 years.
Really?
First 4 years, yeah, 25.
I remember early. Sorry to keep interrupting. I remember early on, people kept like jumping over the fence, like an unruly number of people were sprinting towards the White House. And I remember before he was sworn in, I remember that guy with like suction cups climbed up Trump Tower.
I remember two things distinctly. He was on his own golf course in Scotland, celebrating something, and it was like 2018, I think it was, and there was a drone near him, and they had it. I think they used some kind of jamming device to prevent the drone from doing what it was supposed to do. That's one thing I remember. The other thing I remember, he was in Air Force One by Hawaii, and an errant missile shot up.
And
there was
that missile launch. I do remember that.
That was also a failed attempt, but both were failed attempts.
What was so if we're just going down the rabbit hole, what was the missile launch on Hawaii? You remember when they all got those emergency broadcasts, like a ballistic missile was inbound? What was that?
That's a cover story. The deep state needs a cover story. You can't. Oh, we have an errant, so they have to use some kind of like, there's an emergency. We got to launch this missile.
Okay.
And then the media would have come in and bought all the data points had Trump died that day, but he didn't. Air Force wasn't struck that day. Had it been, that would have been the cover story. Oh, we had we must have had a false alarm. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
They needed a cover story, and it all fell apart.
So back to the auditing. So my original question is, they normally shoot the president, and they did in a way, just a more vanilla version. They did paper ballots instead of Lee Harvey. But what was my question before that is, so he gets this audit, right? He's looking at it. Now, I've always been one, because I just, part of me wants to believe, because I love all technology and Cold War, skunk works. That's just my own. I'm guilty. Like, I want to believe. I always like to think of all the money missing as some black programs, Area 51, Roswell shit, but that's my own limited mind. What does the audit say? Is it just that they're milking it and that they're,
Well,
living high.
let's say a couple of things. They know they're going to destroy everything, right? So they knew they're going to have a demolition team destroy the entire global economy.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed the lockdowns in order to steal wealth. And I read a stat today, in fact, that 100 million people in the West have been put in poverty, put out of business, put in the streets, poverty in the West from 2020 lockdowns alone. Forget the vaccines, just the lockdowns alone. Destroyed lives, businesses, everything. It is a massive number. You had all of these players come in and short the stock market and take advantage because they knew when they were going to pull a rug on it. They knew all of this was coming. So they were able to go out there and do it. So I got word I can't verify, but I live in New York City, and you need a investment bank, you need a clearinghouse. So you need a big bank clearinghouse, you need an investment bank to do what you want. I'm not going to mention any names. I know what they are. It doesn't matter. Bill Gates, apparently his foundation, were able to short the entire stock market in November of 2019.
Jeez. So the Big Short, but just
The
with
Big
COVID.
Short, right? But then Trump got the market to turn around a little bit, and stuff. But it was interesting on the timing. So I'm going to say they allegedly tried to short the market. So let me just clean myself up because I don't have proof of it. But it does make sense if you're creating Event 201 and there's a pandemic coming in January of 2020. Wow, I'd short the market too if I had that insider knowledge, right? And if you see, so all of our tax money, every penny of our tax money since 1913 have gone over to the British Crown, to the city of London. None of our tax money has ever gone to our roads and bridges. They just created more debt for that. All of our tax money has been drained out of our country for 110 years now. I think that's coming to an end, personally. And so we're going to learn a lot about the PSYOP, right? And then we have this thing called birth bonds. I'm not an expert in that field, but that also makes sense because all of us born with a bond. Those bonds are traded, been traded worldwide. So from the day we're born. And, are we going to be successful, whatever? Because they want to not only tax us and tax us through inflation. Inflation is just another form of tax, right? They've been trading our bonds. They've been making money off us left and right. These are parasites. I'm talking about the Canaanites are parasites. That is who we're fighting. And they're trying to suck life out of us in every way they can. And it's coming to an end. It's sort of like big pharma is going to end with big government and big banks. Big everything is going to actually implode. Only question left is, and this would be uncharted territory for 6,000 years, who's in charge on the
Fills
other
the
side?
Vacuum. Yeah.
Who's in charge on the other side, right? Is it are we is it going to be World Economic Forum? The Fed now, the central bank digital currency, or the White Hats have a different coin that's going to bypass the banks with a different app called the quantum financial system. Are we going to have quantum financial system come in and bypass all the banks, or are we going to have the mass control system, 15-minute cities, right? You got to get vaccinated 5 times a year in order to get your food rations, that kind of stuff, right? What system's going to win? That's up. First of all, I can't vouch one way or another, but I believe in God, and I believe God will protect his children. So I believe we're going to win. Is how I absolutely feel about it. That's just me.
So I like that. So I don't think anyone, conspiracy theorist or not, I don't think anyone has any doubt that there is and has been an evil group of people in charge for all of human history. Now, is it all one lineage? I don't know. I can't prove that. But regardless, they all seem to kind of be the same, right? Take all the money, whether it's you live at the top of the castle or the top of the New York penthouse, you get all the money. They do seem to, just historically, back to Rome, they do kind of all seem to be pedophiles. And they have the best food and the best medicine, and they're surrounded by the most elite guards. That applies to 2023 and 400 BC, right? I don't think anyone, that's not a conspiracy, that the richest assholes are at the top, right?
Right. Jesus showed us 2 things in the Bible without being religious or spiritual, whatever. He showed us 2 things. He before his crucifixion, he flipped over the money changers tables for defiling God in the Holy Temple, right? He flipped over the money changers. So he was showing us people These are the ones in control. The money's in control. You don't need to go there, kind of thing. The other thing is he walked on water. You can believe it's a miracle or not. That's the spiritual part. I'm not going there. He actually was showing us that there's a law of the land, a law of God, the natural law, the common law, and then there's a law of the sea. He was walking on the water, the law, the maritime law. He's walking on top of it. He's showing us that there is a second law system in the world run by the Vatican for thousands of years, run by the royal family, run by all of the corrupt governments. Washington, D.C. is a maritime port. That was created in 1871. That's a conspiracy. They negotiated when the North won the Civil War, they negotiate reparations for paying, for being lent money by the cabal out of England. And they actually created Washington, D.C. at 10 miles square. This is now a British maritime port. Absolutely. And this is why, under the Law of War Manual, again, it's not conspiracy, go to Articles 11.3 and 11.4 in the Law of War Manual, which is the Geneva Conventions. Go take a look at it. It says, they call them belligerent occupants. So the belligerent occupants that took over the 6th of January in 2021, right, when Biden came in, for a year, had 1 year to vacate D.C. They have not vacated D.C. Trump, and again, this is not conspiracy. You can go back and look at the video. Go back to the Cleveland, September 25th, Saturday night rally. Look at him at the end of the rally. He walks out, and there's American flags like the one behind you, except the stars were all not blacked out, but blued out. And that was it's a military signal from the White Hats to the Black Hats, basically take no quarter, meaning you can give up now or boom. And so what the White Hats were signaling then, and what exists now, when the White Hats actually finally go from covert to overt, when they come out in the streets, the Marines or whoever it's going to be, they have shoot to kill orders. They're not going to be gathering up prisoners. They're going to be killing these criminals. There's going to be shoot to kill orders, and they're not taking to FEMA camps. They're not going to be able to survive. And then there might be 14 blue cities that resist some of this, but all the military White Hats would have to do is just black out the city, right? Go in there with night vision goggles, and all of those Antifa thugs and BLM and all those clowns, even the sleeper cells, even the communist military that's in the United States already, they wouldn't have a chance at all. And so we're coming to a very, very dark period of time, which when the military White Hats win will be an incredibly great period of time, but we'd have to have some healing in between because all of us have been part of this matrix.
And just always watching because this podcast is a one-man operation, always watching my own tail. We're talking theoretically about a war. Nobody's calling for anyone to go shoot anybody in this.
Not at all.
I never know who's watching this and who's going to be like, there's I have no idea.
No, I agree with you.
I do that probably every episode. Don't worry, it's not you. It's probably every episode. I have to somewhere in there to say, hey, legally, we're discussing. I'm
discussing at the military level. Nothing.
Sure.
Nothing
yeah. No. Sure. No. I do like that hypothetical or that almost philosophical question. Then, right? So if there is this cabal that's been in charge, and be it a direct lineage or just be it a they're not directed, but it's still just assholes who take all the money.
The initiation process of being raped by these senior people as kids. That sure. Some might not be of the lineage. Certainly, sure. Obama's not the lineage, is he?
Sure, but like whoever it is the elites in the world, right?
Yeah,
Pick any century. So we're talking just about that general idea of people at the top. That's human history. That's provable history. That's not a conspiracy. But the idea of if this power faction is to be taken out, I mean, that is the ultimate kind of uncharted territory, event horizon, whatever you want to call it, is nature abhors a vacuum and power corrupts absolutely. So is it even possible? And I'm just posing this as a theoretical question. Is it even possible to step into that almighty realm of power, of being the global hegemon, of pulling the strings, of controlling the banks and the media? How does one step into that without being corrupted?
Well, here's the beauty of it. We're going to a new frequency. We're in the age of Aquarius. I won't get too new age on you.
We're already down the rabbit hole. Let's go.
No, but well, here's something really interesting. So the three young shepherds, your young women, late teens, early 20s, in Fatima, Portugal, in 1917, May 13th, very specific day. They had three apocalyptic visions. So you're going back 106 years now. 1917 was the bloody reign and terror of Lenin coming to power and destroying all of the Tsar and all of their people, right? It's like the purge of Cambodia, the purge of Rwanda, right? We've seen this, right? The purge of the Jews in Germany.
Killing Nicholas too and his family, and
right. You're seeing this. So that's a cabal at work, and yet these three young girls have a apocalyptic vision of the future. And what was interesting is the Vatican told the world what two of the visions were. They never told a third. Well, what was really strange for me, Thomas, was over Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, suddenly a 5-minute clip drops from a British barrister who in 1996 had gone into the Vatican and he saw the third vision. And without giving any specific details, he gave two big points. Basically, he said at a very high level, Russia would be the salvation of humanity coming from the East, not the West. That's kind of unfolding.
interesting.
And then he said, and then he also said that the third vision held the other side of that coin, where Kiev would be the truth. How would Kiev be the truth in Ukraine? Oh, I get it. It would be the dark truth. Think about Chernobyl was used to create kind of a Planet Apes forbidden zone. You're not allowed to go there. It's radioactive. And yet last week we see healthy, dogs, 7, 8, 10 generations later from 1986, all wild dogs running around. There's no radiation there killing people. This is nonsense. They use that psyop to keep people away. So what's actually really in Kiev? You got, not only do you have biolabs there, you got adrenochrome harvesting, which means you have to sacrifice babies to get adrenochrome in the purest form. You got child sex trafficking. You got human slavery. You have the nerve center of the cabal is in Kiev, Ukraine. And so as Putin now is wrapping up eastern Ukraine, freeing all those different cities, surrounding them, decimating everything, they're now going to Kiev next. They weren't going to go there, but now they're going there. And so once they get into Ukraine, basically the war in Ukraine ends. NATO can't stop them. Biden and the corrupt elements in the U.S. government can't stop them. This is guaranteed. So you have this one vector of truth coming from Russia and Putin going into Kiev over the next 2 or 3 months. You have a banking collapse, and this is before Silicon Valley Bank collapsed and before Signature, saying 60 to 90 days is going to collapse. You have these two vectors. Then throw in the third vector of the bioweapons of people actually waking up to being poisoned. What is left? Oh, the train derailments, right? The attack on American infrastructure. The food plants are getting destroyed. The chemical power plants are getting on fire every other day. People are eventually going to look at these four vectors or four fronts of warfare and realize, wow, now I get it. We're under attack. World War III. Yeah, World War III started some time ago. Like you said, it's an information war. It's a 5th generation war. And now the information will come out to the people, and this is the apocalypse. And so I see this converging at one point. Might not be one day,
Sure,
but it might be a week or 2 weeks. But once the flip happens, I'll talk about the flip is the psychology, is the people. It'd be like a wildfire, the people waking up by the millions, like literally in a week. Once that happens, it's game over. Because then you're going to have BLM and Antifa, a former BLM and former Antifa thugs, and Christian conservatives are all going to be on the same side. They're not going to be friends, but they're going to realize they're on the same side. They've been used as puppets and pawns.
We've all been screwed. Yeah,
we've all been screwed. We've all been lied to. I've been deceived. I'm a father of a 22-year-old vaccinated kid because I thought vaccines were safe and effective 20 years ago. That's a total lie, right? So we've all been deceived, me included, everybody, right? But that's going to change. When that changes, it's over. There's no way out for them anymore. And this is why I believe, and this is just a personal belief again, Trump is a white hat. He's still commander-in-chief of the United States. They can go ahead and arrest him, knock yourself out, take him out of the picture. He'll be a victim, a martyr, right? Putin is a call it kind of an anti-hero white hat, sort of like Mad Max in a way, right? So Putin's a anti-hero white hat. And then Xi Jinping, in my opinion, is a double agent white hat. He's leading the Xi Jinping out of China, Chairman Xi Jinping.
It's a fun twist.
It is a fun twist, but if you look at his past, he was a peasant. His father was in the Communist Party, high up, and Mao had him executed, I think, in the early 60s or mid 60s. So what did Xi said? Well, I'm going to get revenge for my father. Now China looks at things over long epochs of time.
Yeah.
They're not looking for revenge tomorrow.
No, they don't do that yearly.
So Xi Jinping went into high school and plagiarized this, or he found the smartest kids, right, and turned into the best papers. Same thing in college. But it all got him into the Communist Party, and look where he is today. And they had a coup against him last October. But what happened? He turned it into a counter coup. He removed the senior people who were part of the cabal, part of the Black Hats, removed them out of the Communist Party, the leaders. So he's fully in control. And so we're going to watch how this plays out. But at the end, I actually believe Xi Jinping, Putin, and Trump are all working on the same side to free humanity from this insane system.
I like it. I'd buy the script. Now as we're in it, is Elon Musk good guy or bad guy?
I think Elon Musk is an actor. I think the real Elon Musk has been removed. If you go back and look at, you go to mileswmathis.com. He wrote an incredible piece of Elon Musk 10 years ago that said Elon Musk is an actor. And he's saying that I don't think Elon Musk is with us in the way we understand. I think you have an actor playing him.
What about Bezos?
Bezos is following a particular script, in my opinion. That's the real Bezos. But you got to realize Bezos' father was in a branch of DARPA.
Yeah, Bezos is deep in that. You do any research on him, he's all in there.
He's not a skinny nerd in a garage in 95, 94.
Make yourself up by your bootstraps. No, he's like balls deep, DARPA, NASA.
Amazon Web Services was invented by the CIA.
Yeah, they have all the cloud service contracts,
right? And they handed it to him in 2003. I mean, gotcha. Amazon, and it's like Facebook,
LifeLog, Facebook,
right, exactly, same week, right? One goes down, LifeLog goes offline, and
the following day, not even say no, following day,
whatever. But like Facebook incorporates, Oh, and I coded this in college. Give me a break.
Shut up.
Hundreds of thousands of hours already in place.
Yeah,
for Facebook.
Yeah. All right. About Bill Gates.
Bill Gates and Melinda Gates for sure. I think Kevin Kline's playing Melinda Gates. I'm going to just go out there way on a limb. and maybe the penance for Kevin Kline is he done something wrong in the past. You're given this awful script. You're playing trans Melinda. Go take a look at Melinda Gates pictures from 20 years ago. Melinda Gates in the last 5 years. It looks like Kevin Kline. I swear to God.
All right.
No, I know this is.
I don't care, dude.
No, it's like we're at the end of a movie.
It is kind of
it is psyopy, right, in a way. And yet we do have some real threats out there. So it's really time for us to figure out, like, is that a psyop or what? So I think there's a lot of things we don't know, things we'll never learn, but other things we're going to learn quite a bit will blow our minds.
Yeah.
And so is John F. Kennedy Jr. alive. That becomes question. But if you do like analysis, the chance of being alive is actually very good.
To put the cherry on top, where do UFOs, if at all, play into this? Or is
probably
that just black?
Probably. I mean, I know it's been a psyop by a lot of people, and I'm just leaving my mind wide open.
Sure.
Nothing surprises me. As a kid and teenager, I love UFO research, right, and all this stuff. I just and that part of me is still there. So this has been such a crazy ride in our lifetime, Thomas. In our lifetime, we're going to experience something no one has experienced in 2,000 years, right? The only other great time like this was Jesus Christ, in a way, right? Waking up the masses to the cabal, right? Well, now we're going to see the end of the cabal, and then we'll have an opportunity to really rebuild America. Did you hear about Trump's quantum leap speech?
No.
4 days ago. You should go Google it. It's 4 minutes. 4 minutes long.
Give me a quick rundown.
Real quick, he had 6 points. One is like, we want to be the drone leaders of the world, drone taxis in the sky, whatever, right? We can't let this go to China. Hit all that stuff. But then he talked two different things. One, he says, I have to incentivize the young generation to reproduce babies, to really start making a new generation of kids, another great generation, he said. What does that tell me? That tells me that Trump knows exactly what the bioweapon's doing. He knows his weapon used against kids. That's number one. So for him to incentivize, I think that's interesting. The other thing he said was mind-blowing, especially if you look at the book of Revelation. You have the thing in the book of Revelation called New Jerusalem. It's mentioned twice in the book of Revelation. That comes after tribulations, right? And feels like we're in tribulations now for sure. So Trump talks about taking, the United States, continental United States, 33% of the land is owned by the federal government. He says you take a fraction of a fraction, like half a percent of that entire thing, and you could build 10 brand new cities. And in fact, he would open it up to a contest of designers, of people, visionaries, to actually start mapping out, and he'd have this around the country. And so you're not going to sit there and go save the blue cities, knock yourself out, people. That's your mess. You deal with it. He's going to create 10 new cities, and he's going to bring back the manufacturing base, bring back the supply chain base, bring new technologies, new ways for food production. All of this, big pharma, big Monsanto, all of those companies, big ag, they all will be gone. We'll go into a new time in which people will actually be in charge.
I like it, man. I could deal with some optimism. That was a yeah, I know it's a good one because I leaned all the way back in my chair. I'd slipped all the way down. I figured that's like a way I can compliment a guest. Is like if I'm really sucked in, I just slide all the way down. That was great, man. I like it. I'm on board. I like it. I'm forever seduced by it.
I'm going to say this. So as I've been piecing all these big signals and dots and all this together for the last 3 years, I don't see anything that's changed my mind that this is where we're going.
Sure.
I think, in fact, if you go look at that quantum leap speech, I'll highly recommend it because it's not pitching this as a 2024 platform, which tells me it's Trump president. I don't know the answer to that. But Trump might be president already. We don't know. He might have had a secret inauguration. We don't know anything. But there is, when Trump went to East Palestine, there was, he got FEMA up there. Well, Trump, you only get FEMA up there if you're, president. Oh, when he came off your own plane, some guard in East Palestine called it Air Force One. Oh, was that a Freudian slip? So there are again, very subtle signals. And I don't even need to go there. It doesn't matter to me. We just need to watch how this movie ends. Watch the end of the cabal. Watch how the world wakes up collectively, and we'll go from there.
I like it, man. I like it. It's better than the doom and gloom I normally cover on this show. I enjoyed that. That was light. I liked it. And you've got good storytelling capabilities.
Thanks.
I like that. You just, as a personal compliment, I was fixated. Well, I think I put it in the description.
So let's talk. So real quickly for the audience, I'm James Grundvig. James Grundvig. I'm host of Unrestricted Truths on AmericanMediaPeriscope.com. You can also find us in AMP News.us. And I'm also the editor-in-chief of AMP Journal, which is our online newspaper.
And what was it? American
Media Periscope.
Got it. I'll put it in the description right now.
.com.
All right, just making sure I get it. Yeah,
Thomas, you've done an amazing job here. I like your podcast quite a bit.
I didn't do anything. You did it all. That was great.
No, but you're good. You're a good listener.
Hey, man, I liked it. I like it. I'm on board with it. Sounds fun. I'll put all right. I just put it in the description. Yeah, man, that was fun as hell. I'd love to have you back on sometime. That was
absolutely.
I like it. I like at the very least, man, I'd buy that script. At the very least,
and nobody would believe that script. And from the movie The Player, Tim Robbins, can you guarantee me that ending? Absolutely, we'll guarantee that ending.
That is a thing in reality, though. I mean, like the 2004 Red Sox go down 3-0 and come back, win 4 games. That is some shit that if you saw in a movie, you'd be like, "That's too cheesy." They beat the Yankees and they
and he lost like 18 or 21-3 in Game 3, and
no, they lost 19-8, which is 1918 is the curse. I'm from New England. There was so much occult shit in that. I was 14, but I remember watching that. I was like, this is like the Red Sox. Like it was all it was so poetic. And then they go
And,
back and beat the Cardinals 4 games. The point is if that was a movie, you'd walk out halfway through, and that
yeah,
was
you would
it was so cheesy.
you'd never buy it.
Yet
But
it
then
happened.
The Red Sox win two more, and the Cubs win. So I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
been
It
a
is.
nice 20 years in baseball.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. I mean, reality has often been, if it was a movie, you'd say that was fucking that was, but it ends up being real. So
Yeah,
that was a nice little shot of optimism, man. I appreciate it. I needed that today.
absolutely, Thomas. I'm with you. We do need it from time to time.
Absolutely. Well, hey man, I linked I linked the website in there, as well as I believe your Substack, and yeah,
Great.
guys, go check them out, dude. It was fun talking. We'd love to have you on again sometime.
Absolutely, Thomas. Pleasure to be on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, everybody.